Hello and welcome to Ready Bet Action. We are here on a Wednesday night ready to talk some college football. I'm joined by our co-host, Michael Smith, Michael J. Smith.
Michael. Ooh, that was weird.
All right, Mikey. Hey, we were just right before we hit record checking out the Avs game, and it's depressing as hell being an Avs fan to start this season.
Dude,
Our goalkeeping is bad. It's just not good.
I
So
just don't understand how it was bad last year and we did nothing to fix it.
yeah, no, I know. But this is not an Avs. We are not going to do an Avs show yet. We should just to riff. But we're going to get into college football. Week 10 is here, which feels crazy and great because we're getting into the heart of it. We know a lot about these teams, and I'm excited to get into what are some exciting games as well. Quick thing though, like we've seen some changes already happening in the coaching atmosphere here. A lot of defensive coordinators getting terminated. Offensive coordinator, you're wearing the Utah hat. He was terminated like 2 weeks ago. So it's that time of year. How does coaching changes affect how you handicapped games? Does it impact how you view some of the, like, let's say offensive coordinator for Utah gets fired? Does that change how you view that offense? Do you think, you know
Yeah.
what? And that's just an example. It's like, oh, let's just forget all the previous stuff. That doesn't matter because now we have a new staff in place. We've got a new guy calling the plays. It's totally new. Or you're like, you know what? It's all the same players. There's only so much you can do.
No, I mean, it's like we can look at, UCF. They just fired the defensive
Right.
coordinator. And like my typical MO is to stay off of it for at least a game. Depending on what it is. Like if it's a bad team playing a great opponent, then yeah, smash the good team. But if it's anything other than that, then I tend to avoid it just to try to get a little bit of a pulse of what changes are going to happen and go from there. We've seen it happen before. Like a new coordinator comes on and it's an entirely different scheme. So it's
Right.
hard to really get an understanding. It's like you're back at week one again.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good take. All right. We've got some awesome games to talk about. And the one that is probably the most talked about is going to be Ohio State traveling to Penn State, favored by 3.5. You know me, I love a road favorite. So
You do.
do you have a play on this game? And then I also am curious just what your thoughts are in general with these two teams facing off. Let's not talk about playoff ramifications because I still
Yeah.
think it's too early for that, but just thoughts in general.
Thoughts in general. I do have a play on the game. I'm going over 47. Thoughts in general are that you have two teams that are talented who have really only been tested a couple of times this season. Ohio State has been tested at this level against Oregon. Penn State has been tested against USC and Illinois. So, like, we haven't really seen what Penn State has to do to step up against an opponent of this level. Um, and I'm just kind of curious to see what happens here, right? Like, this game historically has a lot of points in it, which is why I'm going over. Um, but on paper, I mean, this should be as exciting as anything else that we've seen this week or this year.
Yeah, I love that take. I'm going to be honest. I'm laying it with Ohio State here. Road favorites are, they're my soft spot. They're my love. But Ohio State versus Penn State to me, like recently, this has not been one of those games that's even really been a rivalry. Like Ohio State has kind of owned them
Yep.
as of late, and I don't see where that really has changed. Now, my one fear is that some of the injuries on the offensive line for Ohio State up against that nasty defensive line for Penn State. If there's a reason we lose this bet, that's the reason
That's it.
why. Now, you could still win, of course, but part of me is terrified because 2 weeks ago, I placed an extremely large bet on Ohio State to make the Big Ten championship game. And at that point, I was like, well, if Oregon slips up to Illinois, then, I still had that one. And I just need Ohio State to beat Penn State. And now we're here. I thought maybe I'd be able to hedge it, but
I
it's
mean,
such a short number. You can't really. I just have to live and die with it. Hopefully, Ohio State goes up big early and I can, just hedge a little on Penn State money line. But
a little sprinkle there. Yeah, I mean, last week against Nebraska, when it was close, I texted you guys and I was like, "Let's go Nebraska," and you were like, "No, you asshole."
yeah, it wasn't a show bet. It was just me drunken on a Thursday night, probably being like, you know what, Ohio State's definitely going to make it. So yeah, the worst time to bet. Don't do that, by the way. Don't do that. We've got way too many games to talk about. So we're both on that game. You're on the over, and I've got Ohio State -3. I'm going to stick in the Big Ten. I've got a theme here. I know you have another Big Ten play, but before we go to yours, I'm going to give you two of mine. Give me that Northwestern is traveling to Purdue. Give me the under 47. Northwestern unders have hit 3 in the last 5 games. They are just playing at a pace and a style that they want to make that game be as close to 2 hours as they can make it. Like they want to get in, keep that clock rolling, play tough defense, and then not score much themselves and keep others from scoring. So I do kind of think that Northwestern might be able to pull this one out. I think Purdue's going to struggle against this defense. So under 47 for me feels like a good play. Sticking in the Big Ten, my Oregon Ducks are traveling to Michigan. Michigan plus 14.5 at home as a defending national champion is absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. I want Oregon minus 14.5. I don't see how this doesn't hit. Michigan has been getting beat by this number by teams like Illinois. Like that was exactly 14. Illinois just got destroyed by Oregon. Oregon's defensive line is nasty between Harmon and if they do get Burchett back, but Mateo Uyunglele has been phenomenal. I don't see a way that Michigan is able to put up many points. Now there's not even question about who their quarterback is, as Tuttle ended up retiring this week because of that concussion. So Orgy's going to come in for a few running plays, but other than that, it's going to be Davis Warren. And Davis Warren against this defense, it's just not the same level. So give me Oregon minus 14.5. I will be laddering this, Michael J. Smith, Michael J. Fox, Michael J. Smith. Anyway, I'll be laddering this up to 21.
I like it, man.
Maybe
Michigan's been bad. I mean, to only beat Michigan State by 7 at home after only putting up 7 against Illinois, they just don't have really much to really hang their hat on this year. And the defense, even their defense was still supposed to come in and be amazing this year, and even that hasn't turned out to be what it was going to be. So,
and now Will Johnson might be injured, or has been injured. He might not be at 100%. Yeah, like last year, it's like, man, their offense. I mean, last year their offense was really good, but it's like, well, at least they've got a great defense. It sounds like, well, their offense isn't great, but at least they also have a not good defense. They have nothing. So, give me Oregon minus 14.5. Let's stay in the state of Michigan. You've got to play as Indiana, as the undefeated Hoosiers who control their own destiny. They very well could end up in the Big Ten championship game. They are minus 7.5 at Michigan State.
Yeah, man, Indiana, they're just a much better team here. I mean, even last week without Curtis Rourke, they still managed to put up 41 points against Washington. Taven Jackson only threw for 124 yards, but he only had to throw the ball 19 times. They ran the ball 50 times. Rourke actually has a shot to come back this week, but even if he doesn't, Michigan State is 61st in the country against the running game. Michigan State also likes to turn the ball over. They're turning the ball over 2.3 times a game. And then Indiana, both offensively and defensively, they're in the top 10 in just about every major metric there. So this is just a game of Indiana continuing to follow the phrase of Google me, I just win. They're just a better team against the Michigan State team that's not good. Michigan State has left a 1-score game against Florida Atlantic and Maryland both. So now you put them up against Indiana. I just don't see a way this game is close. I'm laddering this one easily.
Yeah, so I mean, the line does suggest that it's a nice opportunity to ladder since you're already at that 7 and a hook. You may as well pay up a bit. That is terrible betting advice as well. I know.
Oh, come on.
Points are precious, but we like our plus money on ready bet action. My only concern for Indiana, but to be fair, I'm also on Indiana minus 7. If this doesn't hit, it's because they've only had to play 2 road games at UCLA and at Northwestern at their practice facility, basically with 3,000 people. Sparty can get up, man. Sparty can get loud. So East Lansing, if they show up for this one, maybe. But again, if Indiana gets up early, that quiets the quiets the crowd.
Quiet's the
quiets,
cloud. Uh,
quiets the crowd.
yeah, I get it, but we've also seen Michigan State kind of crap the bed at home too. You know, like Michigan State or against Ohio State, they only put up 7. Um, and so like I just don't. I don't know. I get it. I'm glad there is a counter argument to make me feel like it's not a gimme because no bet is a gimme. I just have a hard time seeing this one not hitting.
Yeah. I mean, Aiden Childs, the quarterback for Michigan State, can get hot, and we haven't seen him be able to sustain that for even like more than a half.
Right.
But if he could, if he does get that together, if the crowd gets behind him and Aiden Childs is slinging it and he's avoiding those huge mistakes, those mental errors, all bets are off. But I'm going to bet that doesn't happen. And I'm going to join you on -7.5.
I like it.
Um, I've got one more in the Big Ten, and that's in that Wisconsin traveling to Iowa, a total of 40.5. And last year we'd be smashing this under, but not this year. This year we're going over. Iowa has changed their quarterback. Sullivan's going to be there, but that doesn't even matter because Caleb has been destroying the running back, like all running backs. Like he's leading the nation and we're top 3 in the nation in so many stats. If it weren't for Ashton Genty, he'd be getting a lot more attention.
Yeah.
He's the reason why this is going to go over 40.5. So this is crazy. Totals have gone over in 4 of Iowa's last 5 games. And at home this year, the total has gone over all 5 times.
That's insane.
Meanwhile, Wisconsin has gone over their number in 3 of their last 5 games. So the numbers say this one should go over. Watching how these players play, again, Iowa's offense being much better than it was last year. Their defense kind of being a little bit worse, giving Wisconsin the opportunity to score. Wisconsin had been scoring for a while here. So
yeah,
this one, the only reason it doesn't hit is because of college football things, like because this should fly over.
Do you know how many games Iowa has played this year that has not gone over this number?
No, tell me.
1.
Oh my God. Yeah.
1. And it was 39.
Jesus. Yeah,
So,
let's go.
It's a very different year.
Yeah. So is this going to hit? We don't know. We'll see. Will it probably hit? Should it hit? Yes,
Absolutely.
100%. And that's why we're on it. All right. I've got 2 more plays. You've got 1 more play.
I've got 2 more plays.
Oh, well, then let's go. Let's go to the SEC.
Yeah. Let's start with Arkansas. We're going to go Arkansas team total under 23.5. You can get it at -130. With an exception of last week's game against against Mississippi State, Arkansas is averaging 17 points per game in the SEC play. Arkansas, they move the ball well from a yardage perspective, but they're 54th in the country in points per game. And they have not scored, or the only team to score 24 points or more against Ole Miss, who they're playing this week, has been LSU. It's one team, LSU. So Ole Miss is still trying to make a push for the playoff here. They have to win out to have a shot at that, and they still play Georgia next week. So like, I don't know, man. I just expect Lane Kiffin to be the better coach here to get his team coached up, and they show up and they're ready to play on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, that's a crazy number. I like that a lot. I will be joining you 100%. I'm not going to steal it for the show. That's not fair. But
I mean, I can share.
No. I'm definitely tailing it though. I'm gonna stick in. I've got a play on an under for a total game, and that's in the Tennessee Kentucky. Give me under 45.5. Kentucky unders have hit in 3 of their last 5. Tennessee's under have hit in their last 4 games, despite the fact that they're 3-1 in those games. And I think that's kind of important because Heupel is very happy as long as he's winning games. He's happy to spread you out, run the goddamn ball, and play solid defense with that nasty that defensive line with Pierce and company. He will shut he will shut down Kentucky. Kentucky's not that great offensively anyway, and Kentucky's decent defensively. So I don't see this one going above 45.5.
No, man, I like it. Dylan Sampson, you're right. He's a monster right now. And yeah, Tennessee hasn't thrown the ball for more than, I think it was, God, I saw the stat last week and I forget. He hasn't thrown the ball for more than 200 yards in like 5 or 6 games because he hasn't had to, right? Dylan Sampson's he's doing what he does. I mean, and they've had some surprising close games once they entered conference play. So they have not been near as explosive as they started the season. I like this one a lot.
Good. Love to hear that. Give us your final play.
Yeah, let's go with Texas A&M on the money line at South Carolina. 2 weeks ago, I said I wasn't betting the SEC anymore, and now I have two SEC plays this week. It's kind of great.
What could go
Um,
wrong? What could go wrong?
Man, A&M, they're just playing really good football right now. They're the only team in the SEC that's undefeated in conference play. And their last major opponent is Texas in the last game of the season. And they're kind of gotten their eyes set on knocking Texas out of SEC title contention here. They only need one more loss and they're done. A&M, they just took care of LSU with a 15 point win, and then they beat Mizzou by 31 2 weeks prior to that. They play their best football when they don't have to rely on Connor Wegman and Marcel Reed to throw the ball, no matter who's at quarterback. And now they're playing Carolina, who offensively has kind of struggled a little bit. You know, they did put up 35 against Oklahoma, but even in that game, they only had 250 yards of offense. So even if South Carolina starts to score, they're not going to run the score up enough that A&M has to throw the football. So A&M is going to be stuck playing to their strength the entire game. I like South Carolina, don't get me wrong. Their D line is fantastic, but I think this is a game of coaching and turnovers. Elko's a much better coach, and A&M turns the ball over way less than South Carolina does. So give me an A&M on the money line.
You know what tomorrow is?
Thursday.
Yeah, it's the 31st. It's Halloween. It's the end of Cocktober, baby. Cocktober ends
It's done.
tomorrow.
It is done.
This game is in November. It's over. Texas A&M on the money line. Love it.
Hit it.
Go wrong. No, that defensive line for South Carolina would be the only reason why.
Agreed.
So, and again, I'm with you. I'll happily bet that doesn't happen. All right, I've got one more for you. We're going to take Kansas State minus 12.5 as they travel to play Houston. Houston coming off a somewhat surprising win last week against Utah. I think they were very, very pleased to get that. They definitely didn't expect that. None of us did. But if you look at how Houston has played versus really, really good teams, they have been killed. They lost by 20 to UNLV. They lost by 34 to Cincy. They lost by 11 to TCU. And they recently lost by 28 to Kansas. So when they're playing some of those, and I'm not even talking about like good teams. I'm talking about good Big 12 teams.
Right. Good enough teams.
Yeah. Kansas State is probably the best team in the Big 12 right now. Them and Iowa State. And I just don't see this not being more than 2 touchdowns when all is said and done. Give me Kansas State minus 12.5. Anything under 2 touchdowns. And I love this play.
I like this too. And Avery Johnson surprised me as the year has gone on. He is developing each week as a better and better passer. So you complement that with their running game and DJ Giddens. This is another one that I will also join you on.
Okay, I'm going to throw one more in there back to the Big Ten, only because we're not at 20 minutes yet. Minnesota traveling to Illinois. Give me Illinois +3. I find this to be a disrespectful number. So Illinois is good. Yeah, they lost badly to Oregon. They were in a bad situation from the jump. If you're not in it with Oregon early, it is over. You can't keep up. Illinois just beat Michigan. Michigan and Minnesota are kind of the same team to me.
Yeah.
Michigan might just have higher recruited players, So Minnesota's been playing well. Their offense has been humming as of late. I think it stops. I think Illinois gets the flat out win. But unlike Eric Doran, who couldn't be with us, he will be with us in the NFL show. I don't want the plus money. I'm happy with the +3 points.
I've got nothing to add to this game. I'll be honest. I have watched very little of both of these teams. So I like it, I guess.
I've watched a lot of Illinois, not much Minnesota, other than that USC game, which was impressive, Yeah. Anyway, we are at the part of the show where we are going to give you the rundown, give you our picks. Before I pop them up on the screen, though, hit that like button, hit subscribe, follow us along on podcasts at Ready Bet Action. You can find us on YouTube. We appreciate you all. We see that we have been growing a little bit by a little bit, and we are grateful. All right. Michael, give us your picks for Week 10.
Give me Ohio State at Penn State over 47. Arkansas team total under 23.5. Indiana minus 7.5 at Michigan State. And Texas A&M on the money line at South Carolina.
I am going to go Ohio State minus 3.5 at Penn State. Northwestern Purdue under 47. Oregon minus 14.5 at Michigan. Indiana minus 7.5 at Michigan State. We're going to go the Wisconsin, Iowa over 40.5. Tennessee at Kentucky under 45.5. Kansas State minus 12.5 at Houston. And we're going to take Illinois +3 hosting Minnesota. Thank you guys so much. We are about to go record our NFL show. You do not want to miss that. Mikey is crushing it with the props. So come over there for that. And I will be gracious and not give you any plays this week as I continue to lose in the NFL. But we got winning records over here in college. So we'll see you guys soon. Have a great week.